Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today we are joined by founder and CEO of Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, Todd Graves. Having coming up with the idea for a chicken finger restaurant chain back in 1996, Todd took a true entrepreneurial path by funding the startup with an SBA loan. I used to actually work in SBA lending, we'll talk about it, and his own personal savings, some of which came from working jobs as a boilermaker and a commercial fisherman, which we will touch on. 28 years later, Todd is now one of the 500 richest people in the world, being named to the Forbes and Bloomberg's recent billionaire list. He leads the restaurant chain with over 800 locations in 40 states in 5 countries, $3.8 billion in revenue last year. Raising Cane's is a name brand that on its own merit has become a pop culture icon to fans and customers everywhere. Today we are going to learn about the entrepreneurial path that turned a kid from Baton Rouge into the leader of a worldwide chicken finger empire. Oh my God, Todd, thank you so much for being here on Trading Secrets.
What an amazing intro.
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredible. And what a mouthful, man. You did great.
I mean, I'll be honest, I was reading your resume, I'm like, where do I cut this intro? Because it's so deep, it's so long. Now, typically, Todd, what I do is go chronologically. Like, I want to hear where you were and how you got to where you are. But today's got to be different. We just had F1 weekend here. I was at Kentucky Derby last year with you, and then I looked at your Super Bowl list. You had Jelly Roll, Russell Westbrook, you had Leonardo DiCaprio, you had Wiz Khalifa, you had Tobey Maguire, Vince Vaughn, Wayne Gretzky. I look at the list from this week. You got George Kittle, we had Myles Garrett there, Kamara was there, Jalen Ramsey, Caleb Presley, of course, from Barstool, DeAndre Hopkins. This list goes on. And it's something no one in your space is doing, absolutely no one. So talk to me just about like the marketing strategy, the business case for something even like this past weekend at F1.
Yeah, you know, so being an entrepreneur, and you know what that's like, and starting out without a budget, you know, you have to be crafty at marketing your business, right? And so that started for me back in 1996, like, you know, open the doors of the restaurant. You know, oftentimes I would go put out flyers on people's windshields, you know, come try this new place, Raising Cane's. And back then we didn't have social media. And so for me, always being a student in my business, learning, constantly learning, right? And so I want to stay up on the edge and I want to keep getting better and better. You know, you can't do this. You're either doing this or this. I choose to go that way, right? And so when social media came out, look, I'm an older guy, 52 now, right? And so I didn't naturally, you know, gravitate towards Facebook and Instagram and things like that, but I watched the marketing value behind it. And so like if traditional marketing, I'll say cost per impression is about a penny. That billboard, when someone sees it, costs me a penny. That television ad would cost me about a penny. Radio, about a penny. So that's literally a penny. So I think of all those pennies going out there. Social media, if you do it right, it's a fraction of a penny, right? A tenth of a penny. Then you can get it even lower and lower because of virality of it, but you have to give people good content. And what people like to look at on the internet, they love to see exciting events and celebrities, right? People of interest. And so, you know, I love being around great people. I love having fun. I love going to sporting events. I love to go to any kind of great event. But then bringing in these celebrity friends to come in, fans of Cane's, friends of mine, and come in and have a great weekend. This stuff goes, we get hundreds of millions of impressions off of it. And for fractions of a penny, you know, I can get great marketing. People are more loyal. Look, they love their celebs. So we had, you know, you were there yesterday. We had, you know, 50 different celebs in there, and you know, everybody has different fan base. And for us, it's just great marketing.
Is that intentional? Because I was looking around, I'm seeing there's reality stars, NBA stars, NFL stars. All of a sudden, Hulk Hogan's coming in. I mean, you literally hit like every space of entertainment. Is that intentional? Like, talk to me about just the base case of that. Obviously, everyone there is a fan of the brand. They're a fan of you. But tell me about like the thought process. Are you looking at the demographics of each follower, of each person?
Yeah. Two things. Well, so one, I like to spread out to a lot of different things. A famous skateboarder was in there yesterday, right? Yeah. That's a whole nother crowd, right? Yeah. And then, you know, for me, it's two things. One, it's people that I want to be around. Like I said, a lot of them are friends, but then those friends will suggest, hey, you ought to invite so-and-so and so-and-so. For me to get to hang out, I like hanging out with inspiring people from all walks of life, right? So I'm a restaurant guy, you know, I'm a CEO, founder of a chicken finger restaurant. But like being around my friend Joe Burrow, who's an amazing quarterback, and he's just as fanatical about being a good quarterback as I am about being a good restaurateur, right? Inspires me, right? Theo Vaughn, being with him and how passionate he is about being creative and what he wants to do to continue to grow and get better, right? Yeah. That inspires me. So all these different people, down to down to skateboarders, down to streamers, like FaZe Banks, and people would probably put us together and go, that's interesting, but we're good friends, right? He inspires me. So all these people I meet and do and grow with, I get better, right? Yeah. But so then we're looking at looking at demographics, spreading out as much as we can, male, female, we have models, and you saw the good mix in there, young, older, OG, young and up and comer, and those things. But from social media is, obviously we like it when they have a lot of followers, and even more important, a lot of engagement, so we can get that cost per impression, and then my marketing investments in these events, I get a better return.
I love it. Okay, we talk dollars and cents here, right? And I'm thinking Hulk Hogan comes in, he does the shout out to the camera. It's already on Raising Cane's. I own a talent management company. I know the value of that for a brand is at minimum $50K. I see these people posted left, right, center. I know what they get paid per post. Some of them are over 6 figures. Some of them are even 7 figures for posting stories. So my question is, I'm thinking about yesterday, when people come to your events like this, Super Bowl or yesterday, do you pay people an appearance fee, or just can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. No, never have. And so the idea of the suite is friends of Todd's, right? Fans of Cane's, friends of Todd's, and I'm fans of them. I'm a fan of yours, right? And so when you keep it pure like that, then it makes for a good atmosphere because people aren't coming to be paid. Now, we do paid influencers out in the market, go see restaurant openings and help do the brand, which I think is great. It's it's basically a talent fee like anything else when you have celebs on, but never paid, and people think that's cool, right? And so when people come in and people will request, I want to go to the Cane Suite, and so managers call, and my only rule is they just have to be cool, just it'd be cool people, good people, and so you see the vibe that goes on there. It's just cool people.
We had dinner last night. A group of us were in the suite, and I asked everyone a high and low from yesterday. And then I said, who was the most impressive person you met? And the last question I said, is there anyone you met you didn't like? Who are they? Every single person was thinking long and hard, and they're like, there wasn't one person I met at that suite I didn't like. I think that's a testament to what you guys are doing and how you're doing it. You talked about, our show. We have a lot of Bachelor listeners that watch this show. Something you guys might not know about Todd. There's a rumor out there that once upon a time you were approached to be the lead, to be the Bachelor. Can you confirm or deny this?
Confirmed.
All right. When did that happen? Give me a time frame.
Forever ago. This is, I don't know if the show might have been out a couple of years. So, this is, I was around when the start of reality TV came out. And I did a story for Entrepreneur magazine that was titled Young Millionaires, right? And so it was 20 of them in there, but it's a cover story. So I think when people started Googling, for reality shows, who's a young millionaire, they got me. So they asked this show, Gilligan's Island. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, of course.
They wanted me to be, the reality show. They wanted me to be Thurston Howell, whatever, the millionaire, and his wife. And I was like, that really wouldn't match up with my values. And then they called on The Bachelor and said, well, I don't think my wife would be okay with that. They didn't check out if I was married. Isn't that hilarious?
That's hilarious. All right. Well, they looked at the Young Millionaires list, and if you were single, would you have done it?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, missed opportunity, but obviously everything worked out.
But I did end up doing one. It was called Secret Millionaire, which was a super cheesy name. But so this all goes through my, publicist and all that, and said, hey, you're going to be interested in this one because it's going to help people. And I said, how? And they said, you get to go in a market that you love. And they said it can be Louisiana, and you get to showcase, you being a secret millionaire, you get to showcase heroes in the community for what they're doing for their community, and then you get to donate to their causes, right? So this was after Hurricane Katrina. Our state was devastated. And I went down there, and my wife and I did it together, and we went in and just met some amazing people doing amazing things for the community, and then we're able to donate to them. So that show to me was about making those people, showing the heroes they are, and inspire people to help people more. So that made sense.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And we'll stay tuned to the recap, guys. I'm going to talk to you about the dollars and cents behind everything you guys do to give back. Your philanthropic work's amazing. We're talking millions and millions of dollars, and so many lives you guys are impacting from the success of your business. So we'll get into the details of that in the recap. But let's get back to how you got there, right? I think it's wild that you write this plan with your friend Craig in college about a chicken finger restaurant. Idea, right? The basis of what I saw is like chicken fingers only, and the professor and everyone gives you a bad grade, shoots you down, tells you, how are you going to have one product like this in a state that literally thrives on this type of product and do it well? But you end up doing it. Before you actually do it, how much money did you have to save working your jobs as a fisherman, boilermaker, etc.?
Yeah, I guess the number's about 40, 50 grand.
Okay.
Is what I saved up working both as a boilermaker in refineries and then commercial fishing.
Okay, in both of those jobs, commercial fishing, boilermaker, how much what does an annual salary at this time look like?
I mean, so it's like turnaround shift work in the refinery, right? Okay. So these people get called out for 5 weeks at a time, 6 weeks at a time. Yep. Back then it was $17 an hour. I remember this. And in California refineries, you know, you get obviously time and a half, then there's some crazy double time you got, and then money on top of that. And you work, I don't know, 95-hour weeks. Okay. So if you add all that up, that was good money back then. But like you literally worked for like 6 weeks straight.
Interesting. Just hustle.
Hustle. And then I had a night off and went down to the Viper Room. You know, back with Johnny Depp and River Phoenix owned it. Yeah. Met Drew Barrymore that night.
Oh yeah. No, wow.
I like a Southern boy from Louisiana, and going there, I was like, wow, it's amazing. But so commercial fishing. So it's you spend the summer fishing, but 2 weeks is the peak of the season when you make most of your money. Greenhorn like me, back then could make, I don't know, maybe $25,000, you know? But I mean, that's real money. So if I could save up 40, 50 grand, and I was able to go get some preferred shareholders in the beginning, okay? And these people were the people that were always encouraged by me doing Raising Cane's. They were the encouraging ones to me. It was like Boilermakers, guys, some of the guys worked with, my bookie. I love that. Paid in cash, you know, and it was originally just for investment in the first restaurant. Then I rolled them in a small percentage into the overall company when we started to grow because they wanted to be a part of it. And God, they're all doing really well, and that makes me feel good.
Huge return on that. All right, so you saved the 50K. I want to give one tip, though, because there's people out there right now that are hustling in whatever job it is, and they're trying to save those monies to do what they want to do and build something like you've built. One piece of advice for someone that has a job in which income is relatively tight, yet they have to be able to save this money. Was there any tactics or tricks or anything you did? Because saving 50K with a 25K income, that's tough, right? I mean, that's tough. Any type of financial tricks or tips you'd give them?
Well, I mean, you got to take it in context. I was doing this when I was 23 years old, right? And so I could live very cheaply. So literally before I got my job in Alaska, I spent a month in a tent on the tundra, right? Eating pork and beans and ramen noodles every day, right? And just spending as little as I can and saving all that. This is something I wouldn't recommend, but I was young and dumb. Back then you could get a credit card. It didn't matter. It was 18%. And you get as many. I got as many as I could. I lived off a credit card. So yeah, but I was young and I had nothing to lose. So I don't think that's a great strategy. And I can talk a little bit later about some of the things I learned. Biggest lessons is how to not over leverage your company. Totally. You know, but in that way. So I would just say to live as cheaply as you can and save what and save what you can. And then there's great resources out there, right? Yeah. SBA, Small Business Development Center, Service Corps of Retired Executives. I used these people and these services that are set up by our government to learn. And man, they taught me a lot, and the books taught me a lot. I talked to everybody that I thought was smart in business to get advice and how do I raise money for this. So look, after I raised my own money, I had that preferred shareholder money, then I got a $50,000 SBA loan, you know, so, and then that was the seed capital I needed to start the first restaurant.
Okay, so that's a good segue too. We've had Mark Randolph from Netflix, co-founder, on. His whole messaging was OPM, OPM, OPM. Other people's money, that's how you grow. We had a multi-billionaire, Mark Lowry, on. Mark said, absolutely not. I put every single penny I have into my businesses. I had no choice but to succeed, and that's how I succeeded. So with those two strategies, and then based on what you've done, what would you tell entrepreneurs? OPM or go put all your money in and go full speed? I
mean, I'm the latter. I'm put all my money in and go full speed. So, I own over 90% of my business, right? It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and we're continuing to grow over 30% and just continue to grow. So I own the business, and I have some crew members in my business, key people. They have stock. It was what I gifted people, my mother, or people like that, and then a little bit of the little preferred shareholders. It's very rare that I meet someone that owns that percentage of their business when you talk about the multi-billions of business. And I think what happens to a lot of good entrepreneurs as they go along, and all of a sudden they're successful and they're growing, then it gets real tough, right? And you got this stuff going, and you've lived off nothing, because everything you put into your business and everything you make goes into the growth and things you're doing. And I think some of these private equity people come in and they say, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to do this. And look, you can take this off the table now because you never know if someone's going to stop coming and buying your product, right? And they get whittled down so low, they get diluted so much. And for me, that takes a lot of your own spirit out because you're out making money for people that just put cash in. And that's the easy part. Yeah. You making your brand successful is hard, man. You live it every day. You do this stuff. And so then people get bewildered. They eventually just sell out of their brands. And we have a lack of founders in big businesses, especially in the restaurant business. Look, when I was a kid, it was run by founders, right? But that private equities took over my space. And ultimately, that's not good. Keeping founders out of it, because what founders care about their people, they care about their customers, they care. Not that private equity people are jerks or anything, but look, they have a financial return. That is the mission, you know. 100%. And so things get changed. Quality changes, crew members change, you know, all this buying and selling companies. There's people that depend on this, man. So like for me, as people say, hey man, what's your exit strategy? Yeah. I'm like, I don't have one. This is a multi-generational business, man. It's like I'm not gonna be in Cane's. And these people believe in me, and their lives are just as important as mine. Their families are just as important as mine. Running these restaurants, working their butt off, and then one day say, "Hey, you know what? I'm cashing in and I'm selling now. So and so's. You know, you have to hope that they're going to be good. I wouldn't do it. So just back to that. I think people need to have a higher risk tolerance because if you're an entrepreneur, that's just what you do. Mine was very, very high. But try to keep as much equity as you can because it's yours.
I think the perfect depiction of what you're saying now into action is for everyone back home. We've had an unbelievable weekend, long nights, like unbelievable networking. We are all drained. And before Todd came into this interview, he was reviewing the reel that's going on Raising Cane's. And in my head, I'm thinking, Todd, you're top 350 richest people in the world running this company, and you're checking the reels to make sure that everything aligns with the brand. I think that's the definition of everything you just said right there. Absolutely. Private equity guys, they're not checking the reels to see who's in there and what the brand means, right? That's a huge difference. I'm going off the beaten path here, but I have to ask, I'm sure you've been approached with big dollar amounts, big checks, private equity, other investors. What was the most enticing time or dollar amount you were approached to do exactly what you suggested founders shouldn't do?
Yeah, look, it was never enticing at all. And the reason why is, look, I believe God made me good at chicken fingers to help people. You know, so it's an interesting way to say it, right? And so I think God made us like all good at what we're doing to ultimately help people. And so I try to teach a lot of my friends that are celebs and things about their influence and what they can do on this planet. But with that meaning is how I can help people. I got 55,000 crew members. You know, most people's first jobs in restaurant or retail. They can learn values, working hard, but truly having fun with a company that gives back. Mm-hmm. They carry that to other jobs. Most people leave and go do something else, right? But people talk about it in their other businesses. Or they teachers, they talk about their students. That's a good platform for me to make a difference, right? And then the money we're making, and look, you haven't offered multi-billions of dollars, you know, and the business is worth a great deal, but that money's going to go back to help people. That's what my purpose is, right? And so, like right now, cash flow, we make a ton of money. It goes right back into growth, right? You know what I mean? We had $2.5 billion credit facilities, right, to grow, and then the money we make is going back in there. I'll peel a little bit off, but the money's going to growth because why? The bigger we get, the more we're going to be able to help people. So my mission is going to be, once we become more liquid, then we pay down debt. Okay. At that point, I can start, God willing, I'll be around, I can literally start doing real big things, charity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be a really golden period of my life, you know, to be able to do that and see it firsthand. We can do things now, but it's not what I'm going to be able to do later. And so why I want my kids in the business, right? I want my kids in the business to be able to carry that values on after their mom and I are gone, right? And because if they can turn this into a worldwide business and continue to go, imagine what we can do for people in communities around the world. It's just, it's a purpose, right?
It's incredible, because in business school, we are taught, like founders, have your exit plan, right? Think 5 years, think 10 years, think 20 years. And what's wild to me is even with that question that you answered, you've been offered hundreds of millions or even billions to take the business, and you're like not even fazed by that, because you have, to me, what I'm taking away, you don't have a 10-year plan, you don't have a 20-year plan. You have a 50, 100 to 300-year plan, right? It's legacy. It's greater than just exiting for a dollar amount. And I would assume that that's probably leads to some of the strengths that have gotten you to where you are, because you're not focused on that exit dollar. You're focused on your mission. God made me good to make chicken fingers, to make an impact. All right, let's get into the idea of scaling though. So many people can see the big dollars. We see it on every headline. We see the top 500 richest people. And it's like, wow, look what they've done. But it's hard to understand how they did it. You had to do it by scaling and scaling appropriately. Most business owners, when they attempt to scale, fail miserably. What do you think you did? And maybe you could talk us through the first restaurant or second restaurant or third restaurant. What did you do to differentiate in the scaling process? And what type of advice would you give to someone that's like, they have their first thing, they just have no idea how to get to the second or third or fourth?
One, I'd encourage them to make a lot of mistakes, because you are, and be okay with that, right? As far as growth, I mean, the hardest growth is from 1 to 2, the first restaurant to the second restaurant. I didn't do it the right way because I didn't have a lot of bench strength of management in my business, right? And so I lived at the restaurant, the first restaurant. We were open, 7 days a week, most nights till 3 a.m. after the bars closed. I got there at 5, turn right around again, then 8 o'clock up next morning and do it again. And so I didn't really know how to develop other leaders. A bunch of college students, right? Yeah. Making them managers, didn't set them up for success. Yeah. And then college students too, they're going to be hungover some mornings, not show up, and I'm stretched. So I go from 1 to 2 and really just got my ass kicked, and did. And then, what's interesting too, I had that partner back then, and it was Craig Sylvie, dear friend of mine. And during that time, it was like, he was recently married, and like, you can't have a life. You don't have a life, and he's like, being called in because like 3 people didn't show up and like, he just didn't have a life. He got out of the business at that second restaurant and said, Todd, I just don't like, I like the business side of it. I just didn't like the restaurant business. It's not my thing, right?
So he got out after the second restaurant?
Second one, man. No. But look, I give him some stock, so he does have some stock. But he went and got an MBA and really successful in business because it's what he likes to do. And I always tell these entrepreneurs, I'm like, you have to be passionate about what you do, or you will not be successful at it. And the second thing, you just won't be happy, right? Yeah. So anyway, me growing from 1 to 2, so that really kicked my butt. And understaffed, didn't have my systems, we had some checklists, but I had no training procedures, I had no recruiting procedures. So I got a little better to the 2, and then at that point, you growth, it's like, I probably wasn't ready to grow again, but I had this opportunity to go in. Remember these old, like rallies, like a bunch of these things had closed down, and so I did 5 restaurants in 5 months. Literally 5, and I had 2, and I opened 5 in 5 months, or 4 double drive-through locations, and a mall food court. And so, just running on the adrenaline going. But at this point, I realized I can't be at every restaurant, every day, before I go back and forth, right? Well, it sounds simple, but it's like I didn't take into fact that my allowance of time. So we had management issues, but we grew and we did it. And so I just figured it out. And so I'd be better, if I started over, I'd do it better prepared and have your people better prepared. Build your systems earlier on. I was building a plane while I was flying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So I'd be better skilled at that too. If we can get some financing stuff later, I'll tell you how I finance this stuff. It's pretty bizarre.
I was just going to ask you, because you go from 2 to 5. The biggest challenge there is like, I don't know if you could share it, but at that time, what does each space cost? Like, what does it cost to open a restaurant?
It's interesting, man. So I didn't want to go into those double drive-throughs because to me it just didn't symbolize the culture, of what we were. Double drive-throughs, no dine-in, and just a double drive-through where you drive through the 2 lanes and come through. And so for me, we had the drive-through, it was a big part of our business, but people came in and got the culture of Cane's, right? I was first one, never heard anywhere else. We had music going loud and cool stuff that college kids wanted to hear, you know what I mean? Like, it was just fun, right? So I didn't think people could get the culture, but I did want them to see my crew, hear their voices in the drive-through and see their friendly faces, but they're not inside the restaurant having it. But I said, this is a good way to prove the concept's not just a college concept. These were all around in Baton Rouge, where I'm from. And going in then, I could convert them for about $100,000. So they had equipment I could utilize. I had to do signage, paint, and do it. So I did it the cheapest way I could get open, but to where it did look clean and neat, but utilizing their equipment and the things from before. So
when you say their equipment, were you buying out a facility that already was empty, or were you
leasing it? So these like double drive-through burger joints just went out of business. Okay, so the landlords are sitting there hey, I have this thing going. So I approached them and said, hey, we can get in, but I want to lease and I want to utilize the equipment I could use. I want the whole package, right?
Okay.
And work a lease deal, turn them around for about $100,000. Now I got 4 of those going, then open a mall food court, and I'm starting to cash flow.
Okay, right. Mall food court. What does a space like that cost?
So I would just a lease deal, about 100 conversion on that whole thing too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so at this point though, where are you getting the capital? Where are you getting $500K with only 2 restaurants open? Where you do manage cash tight? Did you have the liquidity? Was it bank that?
Yeah. So very interesting. So banks back then were a lot looser, right, on what they would do. And so, this was not just those 5 restaurants. It was right after that I continued to grow in all these little communities in Louisiana. And look, we're doing millions of dollars of property right at that point in doing it. And this is how I finance it. And I do not recommend this. But what I do is get an angel investor and say, hey, invest $250,000, subordinated debt note. I'll give you a 15% return and I'll personally sign it. And I'm like, I want a 1-pager and go. We had a proven concept and we were cash flowing, but I was personally signed on it. So I'd take that and I'd bring that to the local community bank. They look at this $200,000 or $250,000, consider it equity. Then I could go, borrow $1.2 million off that deal, and we did this.
That
and so,
is brilliant.
but look, but then we opened the restaurant, right? So, and then crew members get paid 2 weeks later, right? So I'm making that cash flow. Food I pay a month later, rent I pay a month later, right? All those things are going. So I'm creating cash events opening up, right? Yeah. So stacked up, we're growing. I did this up to 28 restaurants, man, and we're just rolling and rolling and rolling. I'm leveraging myself horribly.
Oh my God.
Hurricane Katrina hits.
Oh, wow.
21 of 28 restaurants go dark, right? My cash flow stops. I'm in a bind.
You've signed everything personally.
Oh, signed everything
personally. For anyone
personally.
back home that's not following, your life is in the hands of banks and investors right now. Every single thing to the shoes you're wearing.
Yep. Yeah, the banks have it 100%. And so I'm like, well, then now that the cash has stopped, and I got to still pay rent, I still got to pay bank notes, I still got to pay everything else. So I rallied the team together. I said, hey, we need to get open as quickly as possible. I have 2 reasons. One, we need to place our crew to come back, to come to work, and our communities need food. And the second reason, if we don't, we're out of business. We're done. And you talk about rally, when you got that, dude, we were the first restaurant open in all these communities. I went and did bullwater acts with the city. One of the first people back down there. We opened up. Some places, other restaurants didn't open for 90 days after we were. But no other restaurant, like the whole West Bank, for 90 days after we opened, we crushed it.
Interesting.
Absolutely crushed it. We're the only restaurant to go to. We fed first responders, obviously, and that, but it literally kept our prices, which were reasonable prices in price gouge. But we came back and then we cash flowed like crazy, right? We were making all kind of money, then that fueled growth, and it really united our team. But the lesson of all that is what I tell entrepreneurs: don't do that, because my dream almost just went away. Yeah. You know what I mean? Over leverage, it was stupid. So now we're leverage ratios less than 3 times. You know what I mean? So I learned from that. I keep it.
What do you think your leverage ratio at that time was?
Oh, Jesus. 100%. It was just incredible. Incredible.
All right, what's interesting, when I hear you tell this story, the Hurricane Katrina should have or could have knocked you out, but actually propelled you forward. It also reminds me of the pandemic. What you did during the pandemic, forgiving your salary, but I also was looking at the numbers. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but 2020, I think you guys did about $1 to 1.5 billion in revenue. You're looking at 2024, you have projections of 4.5 billion, and the amount that you're growing in a time that actually most businesses retracted. I feel like the pandemic, Hurricane Katrina, most people are getting killed, and this actually becomes an opportunity for you. Do you see that? Is that actually something that you've seen when you look at the timeline of Raising Cane's?
100%.
And talk me through that, because most people are getting wiped out, most people are getting cleaned out. Yeah. You're using this complete detriment as actually an opportunity to not only stay in the game, but grow at speeds that no one else is. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, look, I think at times of crisis, people come together, teams are formed, and you can see leadership emerge and great things happen, right? And so, just like anything else, when Hurricane Katrina went through, and then the levee broke, we've never seen that in a lifetime. We grow with the hurricanes. But when it said it, I looked at it, it hurt me because the people that were going to be hurt in my community, but this entrepreneurial thing kicks on, like, we ain't gonna stop, man. We're gonna get open, we're gonna make this work, So same thing with the pandemic, this crazy thing, and I'm like huge on food safety. Yeah. So now you got this new virus, and I want my people to be okay, working in close quarters. I want my customers to.
Okay, so Hurricane Katrina is a huge event that knocks out almost all the real estate, all the businesses, and for you, it becomes an opportunity to propel yourself. And the first thing I think about is when I was doing my research, I saw in 2020 you guys did 1.5 billion in revenue. 2024 you guys are projected to do 4.5. And so I see this, I'm like, wait a second, every single restaurant in the game was either wiped out or had massive pullback. Hurricane Katrina knocked out almost every single business in the area. And so I'm trying to connect the dots here. Is it fair to say that in circumstances which people were almost completely knocked out, wiped out, went bankrupt, these are actually opportunities that you use to propel you forward? Is that true? And if so, like, how did you actually do that?
Yeah, very perceptive of you. You know, I think in times of crisis, teams form, leaders emerge, and you see great things happen, right? Yeah. So like when Hurricane Katrina almost wiped out my whole business, you know, immediately when it happened, when the levees broke, and you know, I've had hurricanes my whole life, but seeing this, I'm like, this is whole new ground. You know, it's this feeling of my community and the people are going to be hurt. And what do? Leadership, right? It's like you're an entrepreneur, and how we can do is get open as quickly as you can. Give everybody's jobs back, right? Get people back in the city and sense of normalcy with food. But then on top of that, it's like we got to save the company. Yeah. You know, I was like, this is gonna go away. And so the pandemic, extremely similar, right? As soon as this pandemic hits and we start hearing about this, you know, and in the beginning when it came out, they talked about the virus could live on stainless steel for 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm a food safety like maniac, and I'm like, if you have a virus that can live on this, and I was thinking public transportation, I'm like, change the world. That ended up not being true, right? Yeah. But this thing that's coming, that's scary, and you know, all the initial rumors are going the first day, like, you know, the military is coming in, they're going to lock people down, you're going to be stuck in your houses and do this stuff. So when I hear this, right, they're going to shut down your businesses, everything's not going to be open. Yeah. It's that immediate, like, 30 seconds of, oh shit, yeah, you know, you're like, it gets your gut, and then 30 seconds later, how are we going to beat this? How are we going to beat this? So immediately I'm like, look, we're a restaurant. People need to eat. Yeah. And we also had, which we were blessed with, a great format, right? People can get food in the drive-thru. So what I'm thinking is, okay, so my main concern is, then how do we keep our people safe, right? And so literally we wrote this stuff up ourselves. It's just like me doing the Bull Water Act in New Orleans when I went down there. Like we worked with state government to create what it was to make sure the water was safe, right? Same thing with this. We originally went in, we were just taping 6 feet things away, showing the food departments, you know, the health boards, in all of our communities, hey, this is how we're going to keep people safe. Because look, they have to eat, and we're an essential business. So the government did a good thing by saying, hey, you have to have restaurants open, right? And then they're shutting up things down. And so we started these ways that we would show and work with health officials, and this is how we're going to keep people safe. In the restaurants, this is how we're going to keep people safe. Yeah. This is how we're working totally different shifts with different people. And then backup shifts, because if one person got COVID, back then, the whole shift had to take off, was it like 5 days or something crazy? Like start off 2 weeks, then 5 days. You imagine sending a whole crew of people to go home, but you still gotta pay them. All this stuff is going on, and we're not, you know, and so, but luck would have it, we have that drive-through, and man, we killed it. Like sales were insane, and so we learned to get better and quicker. So we turned our parking lots into multi-lane drive-throughs, bringing food out to everybody. And what was great is, man, we got to bonus our managers and our crew members and everybody, man. It was an incredible thing. And like when it first happened, like no one was going out and leaving their house, right? And our crew members would like sacrifice hours to let their other crew members, you know, have hours at the restaurant. And I was like, no, thank you. But look, we're going to pay you. Everybody's getting paid and be on standby. So what's interesting too is when people were scared to come out of their house, you know, I'm on a plane going everywhere, seeing my teams all over the country, because I want to say is, you're working, I'm working, and we're here. And I literally have to wave to them outside the restaurant because you couldn't cross people in case I had COVID, right? Sure. So I would be outside, they just knew I was there, right? Yeah. But taking those things that could be detrimental to your company, really hurt it, already put you out of business, and looking at the opportunities. But the thing is, you have to have that drive. Yeah. And then you have to have that drive, and then you build your teams, you'll figure it out. Yeah, and you forgave your entire salary during the pandemic, didn't you?
Yeah, of course, man, of course.
And
so, I don't know if that's public, like how much money are you forgiving at that point or putting back into the company?
A lot, you know.
A lot,
so, yeah,
enough. All right, let me ask you this. I think about your resilience, that's a big word. I think about during the pandemic and then during Hurricane Katrina. And you think about some of the publicly traded companies that you're competing against, right? And just this is my personal opinion, I'm sure there's a lot of bureaucracy within those companies, and it's probably harder to get things done. You declined millions, tens, hundreds, maybe even billions of dollars to stay private so that you can own the company. Do you think that's a massive differentiator for when you're in these situations like the pandemic? You're on the ground, you're able to go talk to the people, you're able to literally put the 6 feet tape and be like, we'll do it this way, you're hearing it from me, I own it. Do you think that was a huge differentiator?
Absolutely, man. Like I said, once again, so perceptive. I don't have to answer to anybody but my crew members and my customers. I can make a decision, and I have an amazing team, and we make decisions together and we grow. But like immediately we can do this stuff. I didn't have to go through shareholders, or I didn't have to go through a board that might say, hey, I don't know if it's safe to do that. Should we wait, another 2 weeks? And what are the other competitors doing? And what are they? I don't have to answer to anybody, but my crew, my customers, so I can get out there and make things happen right away.
And so would you say that's like when you look at the other customers, were you up before all your biggest competitors?
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
I mean, literally up and then figuring it out, and then literally opening multi-lanes and being faster and quicker and the whole bit.
I love it. All right, let's transition to a fun, I would say it's for employees. It's like a little bit of I don't know if it's a marketing play or not, but I read it. I was like, this is really cool. 2022, you bought 50,000 lottery tickets to share with your employees. And you said as soon as you found out it was an $810 million prize pool, you couldn't miss the chance or the opportunity to possibly win it and share it with the crew. The total cost of those tickets in the article said $100,000. Tell me a little bit about this thought process as a business leader when you're thinking about your team as a whole and what made you do it?
Well, so I love my crew, and I created an department in the business actually called Cane's Love. So it'd be like, it's like respecting, rewarding, recognizing crew members, So things as simple as you come in and cover a shift, and then you went out and cleaned the dumpster pad. You're like, here's a gift card, man. Thank you so much for doing this, And these men and women work so hard, so they all know it's Cane's Love. And like literally, I have a department, Cane's Love department. And so this was just a Cane's Love act. It was $816 million or whatever it was. Knew we'd go over $1 billion. Everybody's talking about it. The crew members are talking about it. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's go buy everybody in the company a ticket, and let's have fun. And so we pulled them all together. So it's like people have my Cane's Love team going out all these different convenience stores. They're just racking up 50,000 tickets. That's a lot to do. But it was more about that fun for the crew, right? So everybody gets a ticket in the whole company. But if we win, anybody wins, me included, we're going to split it up with everybody. So just a really fun deal. But then it went viral, right? So I'm always a marketing deal. But for me, it has to be organic or you're going to be lame, right? So if I bought this to say, oh, it's a marketing thing and I do this deal, people can see through that. So like when they talk to the crew and interviewing them, they're like, Todd always does this fun stuff for us. And, and it was all being a part of a team. So, but it did go viral. It was a great marketing return on it too, but more is about the fun. It was a great recruiting tool because people are like, I want to go work company that literally has a founder that wants to do this stuff. So it's really fun. And then the haters were like, oh, you should be doing this and like tuition assistance and all that. I'm like, we do that too. This was fun. It's $2 per crew member. So I know it was $100,000, but I have 50,000 crew members at this point.
And well, it's a fun thing. It recruits people, and also you got to. You did get a business case. There was a big return, $100,000 for those type of impressions, and the ability of people come. It's incredible. You got 55,000 crew. 1,800 of them have been internally promoted. A lot of action there. You mentioned the word virality, and when I think about Raising Cane's, it's probably the #1 word. You don't see any one of your competitors doing what you're doing. We talked about it earlier when we opened this up, but Ariana Madix gets dumped. She's the #1 trending person in the entire country. Boom, she's at Raising Cane's the next day. Post Malone's relevancy is unbelievable. He's a great guy, great human. You guys do work with them. Snoop Dogg. I'll tell you all the celebrities in the recap that Raising Cane's has connected with. Let's talk about the Post Malone partnership just a little bit, because when I think of you, I think of the commercials you've done with him. I'm a huge Post fan. But of course, my business wheels are turning. I'm like, does he have equity in it? Like, how does it play? Is it just a fee? Like, just tell me a little bit about the Post Malone partnership or some of these individuals you work with at a high level and what it looks like, because no one else in your space is doing this.
So in my chicken finger adventures in life, I get to meet some really amazing people, and because they're fans of Cane's, right? Whether they grew up with it or they had it later as I opened up in their community, and so they hear the story. This guy, look, he went and commercial fish in Alaska and named the restaurant after his dog, right? So they're like, I want to meet this guy, and so someone like Post, his people reached out and to my people and said, hey, Post would love to meet Todd. If he wants to bring his daughter to a concert, come meet us. And so I went to Rolling Loud in Miami God, this might be 8 years ago. I can't even remember. And so I liked his music. I like all kind of genres of music. I liked his music. I'm like, great. And my daughter's like, oh yeah, we get to meet Post. Let's go, you know. And so we go to the show. So obviously I get to meet backstage for a minute. And then after the show, we went to the bus, right? And then he was like, hey, will y'all come back to the house, right? And so my daughter's 14 then, but she knows her old man, you know, likes to drink, likes to party. Obviously she wasn't, you know, but, and I was like, Post, is it cool that, you know, for her age? Oh, he goes, oh yeah, we're a light crowd. It's not some crazy, you know, rock stars after parties. So we go back to the house, you know, we're shotgunning beers and become fast friends. And for me, I get inspired by interesting people, right? And so his creativity, then I became a real huge fan because then I love this guy, all right? And what's interesting too is you'll see when you get older, like me being 52 now, like Posty to me is like my buddy. Like I don't look at him younger. I don't look at anything. And so I kind of go through, funny story, he and I were talking, drinking beer at his house, and we like to collect things. And so he was talking about he almost bid on the Kurt Cobain guitar that he played on MTV. Yeah. And I was like, man, I remember exactly where I was when that went on. Told him, I said, where were you? He's like, Todd, I wasn't born yet. I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm the old man. But just through friendship and then hanging out, and then it's legit friendship. Then you help each other. I'm like, hey, Post, anything you need, you know, let me know. And then he'd go into Canes. He'd wear a Canes hat, doing something that goes viral. You know, I'm just like, thanks, buddy. And what Post wanted to do was he wanted to own a Canes. He's like, man, I want to own a Canes. You know, can you at least put one by my house? And I did. I put one in Midvale, Utah, as close as I could to his house where he lives. And he said, man, I just want to own one. I said, well, Posty, you know, Owning the Canes, you know, one, it's not our model, open company restaurants, so I want to keep the quality, I want to keep the, you know, the good staff and the whole bit, but I said, it's a hard business and you got to love it and do it. It's kind of like, you know, me going into right now starting a music career, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just not what I'm gifted at. And he's like, well, let's figure out some way to do it. So I was like, okay, let me think. And I was like, you know what we can do? And I had this restaurant open in Midvale. I said, how about you turn into Posty's restaurant? You know, whatever you want to do, it's Posty's Canes. You design it however you want to design it. Like there's no budget. Let's just have a blast. Make something super special. Then let's just share the profits. And I said, because that's a partnership. And I said, you don't want to have the legal ramifications, you know, all the things with stock and all that. I said, we'll just run it through and we'll just do it as long as it's fun for both of us and do that. And man, he got so fired up and he was like, you cool? Something crazy? all pink restaurant, wrapped, you know, inside ping pong balls, pneumatic. You know he loves to play beer pong. And I almost beat him one night. Almost. But it's like, we got pneumatic.
Did you beat him in the shotgun?
What's that?
Did you beat him in the shotgun?
Yeah. I beat him shotgun. I can out-shotgun him, but by a little bit, but not beer pong him. But he so anyway, so he creates this just fantastic, you know, look and feel, and then we're like, let's do cups. Yeah. You know, and him working with his people, he has amazing creative people, and I think this was key for me and my team. We've got a really creative team. I run our marketing, but we let them design. It's like we don't want to because we'll do it one way. Yeah. You do it with your team, and so we worked with them on just getting their ideas and how we're going to practically do it, right? And so then it's like, let's do some cool cups, you know, because that's cool. We can get some cool images of you on it, and you know, his people know how to do his brand immaculately. It's so seamless and so cool. And I'm like, you know, of course, let's do some commercials and have fun with that together, right? So they're like, yeah, we're gonna go hire Messi, and then they came up with this, you know, Scarface, you know, like play off that deal where Posty and I are like doing the restaurant, and then it was National Chicken Finger Day, so it's like they set up like a little sleepover in the restaurant because I let Post come in and sleep in the restaurant. So Austin's is so funny. So, but we're like buds, right? So we're like literally, it's unscripted stuff we're talking about. Like he's like, will you tell me I can't sleep? And I'm like, it's National Chicken Finger Day, buddy. You know, we have to get some sleep, and I'll let you sleep in the restaurant. But it was all just us messing with each other, right? And then he just came up with this hilarious stuff. And anyway, so it goes great. And so all of it goes great. We make good money, but what's even more important about it is it's just people love Post. Yeah. They know Post loves Canes. Yeah. He knows people know there's real friendship there, and the loyalty goes crazy, right? Yeah. And so he loved it so much. We did another one in Dallas because he loves the Cowboys, and did a second one in Dallas, and he came up with another crazy design, you know, all like LED inside with Cowboys blue, and it's all this cool stuff.
It's tough to connect like friendship and like just pure admiration to return on investment, but like in this case, it is so crystal clear that it's there. Like there's the passion, there's the admiration, there's the friendship. naturally becomes the products, and then the return's insane, especially with what Posty can do with his impressions and everything like that. Just a quick question on like the structure with that. You said, I have my business owners and operators. Do you then just create a separate like actual LLC for just these restaurants?
No. We can.
How do you structure it?
Well, we can just basically do it through like you basically think of like a marketing return, which is so basically marketing dollars going out.
Interesting.
Of the deal, and then it's also an expense. Right?
I see.
So you take what it'd be, and then we just cut it that way.
Use it that way. Okay. Last couple questions I have for someone back home that's like super inspired by what you've done. They have an idea, or they want to invest in like a franchise. I know you guys don't do that, but what are your thoughts on just the overall franchise model? Like, is it highly profitable? Is it extremely tough? Would you tell someone if they're interested to get in the business? Talk to me just about that.
Well, so first off, when I talk to an entrepreneur, and it's not just in restaurants, but mainly restaurants, and they have an idea, I encourage them, if they have their own concept, to start that, open that. And the reason why is by having entrepreneurs open stuff, it gives diversity of thought. Yeah. Diversity of ideas, diversity of different ways to do things, and then everybody gets better from that, right? That I think is good, but the things that are great about franchising, the obvious things is, you already have a brand that's successful. You can see that. Systems, processes, you're buying into a winning concept, hopefully, right? Yeah. And then the proven rate on franchises versus people starting their own concept. I mean, it's just night and day, right? I mean, I think 1 out of 10 restaurants actually make it. You know what I mean? Like, and these are mom and pops that are going in and doing this deal. Only 1 to 10 actually make it, And so the franchise model, that's very successul, right? Mm-hmm. But you got to pay 6 or 7% off the top. Like, it ain't cheap that way. But the profitability has to be there if they're going to keep selling franchises, right? So there's a lot of pros to that. So you can work hard, and you don't have to come up with everything that you might not be gifted at, right? You might, just like me starting off, I didn't have any of those things. Totally. So I got my butt kicked. But look, I was 23, I opened up when I was 24. I could just outwork everybody, right? I didn't have to sleep much, as a young man. Some people can't do that. So I think franchising is an excellent way for people to do that. But if you're passionate about your own concept and you want to do your own concept, man, go and do it. Yeah. Franchises, though, you have to look at them because some of them might be doing well at some point, right? Mm-hmm. And, that you got to look at the trends. So look at how many closed, let's talk about restaurants. How many have closed? Because they talk about how many they're opening, sure, and how many territories there's. How many have closed, right? How many have closed on that? What is the founder's intention on this franchising if it's a small deal? Because are they going to sell out in 3 or 4 years, and then you lose the passion, right? So a lot of these people go out, they're charismatic, they sign up all these franchisees, then private equity talks them into selling out, right? So then the passion goes from the business. It's not the same thing. So who's the leadership? Who's that going? A lot of times it is set up by private equity, or the founder's long gone. He or she is long gone. So then it's, what is the staff? What are their values? What are their non-negotiables, right? What's their vision? And to see that, because I'd be a little suspect if I looked deeper and found out the plan is to sell this thing in 3 years after we sell these territories, right? Yeah. And it happens, right? Yeah. So anyway, it's just some things to get educated and do before you jump in, because people will see it and say, man, this is great. I just really want to own this and be a franchise. Do your homework.
That's a masterclass right there in franchising from someone who knows very well. So take notes on that. And I think, like you said, risk return, right? You go to a franchise, obviously your returns will be limited. You own it on yourself, you might be over levered. You might have subordinate that uses equity with the banks if they'll structure it like this. But obviously the return is massive. So think about what you're doing, how you're doing it. Last thing I got for you is, I don't know how much of this you can share, but economics of, and obviously it's going to vary based on, is it Post Malone's restaurant? Is it the Times Square restaurant? But you take like an average Raising Cane's location, just as like a base case model. Do you have an idea in your head? I'm sure you do, but I'm just curious, like, okay, in a Raising Cane's, we want to make sure we're doing at least $2 million in revenue and a gross profit of like 10% or something like that. Do you have like economics for like one store that you think through? And is there anything regarding those numbers you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, when we look at it, our average unit volumes, I think are 6.5 million now, and they continue to grow.
Per store?
Yeah, per restaurant. Yeah. We're at the top. We're among the top 2 of all quick service.
Yeah, I used to underwrite a lot of these deals, and 6.5 million.
Yeah. It's us, and then Chick-fil-A on top of that. Wow. And then, I mean, look, then the other big ones are $1 million less, down to just a fraction of it. Yeah, some of these really popular restaurants. So huge volumes. But the restaurant business is tough, and the margins are skinny, right? And so for us is we do 10% net income, that's good. That's very good, right? And so we're pushing with that 10% net income on every one. That makes the returns there, right? And so that's what we want to do. And then so like cash flow, adjusted EBITDA would be, about 20%. And so that's what we want to go in and always do. So, I mean, we want to return on invested capital. You want all those metrics. To me, why I like to look at net income and more than, look at cash flow, obviously, but I want that net income line. So I like to take it all the way down past taxes because that's really what long term you're making and you're keeping that health.
Exactly. Fascinating. You'll continue to use that cash flow to pay down that debt. You guys are obviously in an unbelievable position. $4.5 billion is what you're projected to do this year. The restaurant, I see over 800 locations, attempting to get up to 850 this year, 40 states, 5 countries. The last thing I got to ask you before you get your trading secret, what's next? What does it look like 5, 10 years from now? If we're sitting down interviewing and I'm rattling off those stats, what do you think it looks like? Stores, international, what's the Raising Cane's brand?
Well, so right now, we've got 100 restaurants that will be open in like a 12-month period. And that's going to be US and some international. So with us, that's a good pace domestically to open restaurants with quality, right? And so then we'll build off that 110, 120, 130, like as we can continue to grow, the team's getting seasoned in all these new markets we have across the country, right? So the white space is huge. It's in the thousands of restaurants, over 2,000 restaurants we can do in the US. Internationally, and the reason why I want to go international is because I love bringing in great people to share my dream in different communities, right? And so growing all over the world. Probably next we'll go into Mexico. And we'll go in there. We got a great group down there. I'll say a group that we're talking, known them for a long time. Exceptional operators. We can't navigate down a lot of places. You can't. You want to franchise internationally because whatever it is, politics, whatever they're doing there. I think we're going to go into potentially London next. I think that's a good gateway going into Europe for us. I'm actually going to look at some real estate in a couple of weeks. I think that's a really good gateway. In Asia, we're talking to some great restaurant operators in the Philippines. And we're going to stage these with growth coming up in the future and to take advantage of opportunities. But for me, what I've always had to do is keep our team extremely focused and disciplined, right? Because so many people, when you have these opportunities, and we get opportunities everywhere. Sure. Bring Cane's, bring this, incredible real estate, just A+ sites in these different countries, and you want to jump on that, immediately, because you're just excited to go do it. But you can grow your business so quick that you burn out your teams, you don't have quality, your people, you don't go do right with your people, and you wash out your brand. Then it doesn't become special. You're not going to have these huge volumes. You're not going to have, when you open up in Times Square, a constant line since day one opening. You're not going to have those things. We're going to do 22 million out of the first year out of Times Square. You know what I mean? And then next year, our team says we're going to try to do 25 million. Just keep this thing rolling. But we have that stuff. So I think it's real important for businesses to have a very firm vision, right? And the vision of Raising Cane's is someday have locations all over the world and be the brand for craveable chicken finger meals, great crew, cool culture, and active community involvement, right? Those things guide it. And so if I grow too quickly, great crew, we didn't do the right things to bring in great crew and that have that culture of what it's supposed to be there because we didn't put the right people in there and have them set up for success, right? Or we didn't do the right thing. And look, when I opened up the Middle East, it took me 2 years to find the right chicken. 2 years, right? Because I was our first international sourcing. But if I didn't take that 2 years to find that quality chicken, then we wouldn't have the craveability, then it wouldn't be special over there. You know what I mean? So anyway, you have to stay disciplined because if you are successful, opportunities are like crazy and you can grow it to where it's something not special at all.
Unbelievable. 25 million, hopefully here soon in Times Square, 6.5 million per store, 10% margins. You guys are growing 100 units in such a short period of time in a year, going international, south of the border, across the pond. It's unbelievable to see what you've done, how you've done it, and how you've done it differently. Todd, I could talk to you for hours more, but I know your time is limited here, so we got to wrap with a trading secret. So it could be a life trading secret, finance, business, any type of trading secret that our listeners can't get from their professors in their classrooms or from a TikTok tutorial or YouTube tutorial, only through your experience. What is one trading secret you can leave us with?
I would always tell this aspiring entrepreneurs this. First, I got to tell them, you got to do something that you love. Because you won't be successful at it and you won't be happy if not. Look, you can have this great concept in mind that can work, but if you're not passionate about it, there's not a purpose behind it, you're not going to be happy. So don't do it. So one, you got a good concept, right? But then I tell them, look, starting your own business, imagine how hard it's going to be, then multiply that by infinity. Like, it is that hard. And people talk about quality of life with it. There is no quality of life. I mean, you're just doing the business to make it successful. So then, if you're committed, you're really committed on that, then tell yourself you're never going to give up. Because I've seen so many aspiring entrepreneurs give up because it's so hard to get it financed. It's so hard to get a location. It's so hard to do these things. So they give up. And so what the world could have seen if just people didn't give up. So never, ever give up. But more importantly than that, you got to be fanatical, man. You got to be fanatical about doing it, fanatical about everything. That's why I like details. You know, you and I were talking earlier, I'm looking at the reel that goes out, man. I'm into the details because it means something. Fanatical. So for me, it's like the best quote, and I actually came up with this, right? But it's nothing ever happens unless someone pursues a vision fanatically.
Oh, I like
right?
It. I like it.
Right? So the fanaticism to what you do. And if you do that, you'll always make it happen.
And I think anybody who's achieved any form of outlying success, it's a word that's probably never been used on this podcast, but fanatical. That is so true. It is such, it's a vision and an attention to detail that is so fanatical that probably no one else could do it, right? That's why I'm literally walking in this room saying, how is Todd looking at the reel? That's fanatical. This has been an unbelievable episode. So much to take away, whether you're looking to get into franchising, curious about the restaurant business, how to finance it, how to treat your employees, stay true to your mission and do it in almost a 30-year time frame and grow at the rate you have. Todd, where can everyone find this reel? Where can they find you? Where can they find everything Raising Cane's and Todd Graves?
No, just, add Raising Cane's, add Todd Graves. So, yeah, it's just fun to keep up. We can live an interesting life. So, I'd love to share it.
It's been one hell of a weekend. I tell you what, I'm going to need a chiropractor because my neck was just moving every which way with all the celebrities that were in your suite. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to continuing to keep in touch. And thank you for being on Trading Secrets.
Oh, man, it was a blast. Awesome. I loved it.
Cool. Sweet. Nailed it.